Hey, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of another, well, not really an episode, but another live stream from 360 Wrestling Podcast right here on YouTube. It's Saturday night, July 15th, 2015, and I'm going to start off this live stream by first want to talk a little bit about I talked about this yesterday on 360 Wrestling Fanatic, how WWE unfortunately has canceled Talking Smack as a weekly show, but it will still air right after the SmackDown Live pay-per-views on the WWE Network, kind of like how they do for the Raw pay-per-views, where there is an episode of Raw Talk, but it will no longer be on every week after SmackDown Live. And I'm disappointed by that. Like I said yesterday on 360 Wrestling Fanatic, it's one of, if not my favorite show on the WWE Network. And I definitely think that it is one of the best shows on the network. Because, like I talked about yesterday, it's unscripted. Guys don't have to worry about being told what to say. And they can just get on the mic and say whatever they want, however they want it. And a lot of guys improved that way on the mic when they weren't scripted. Like I talked about yesterday, Baron Corbin on SmackDown Live, the actual show. Not really that good of a talker, not that good on the mic. But when he was on Talking Smack, he was actually pretty good on the microphone. And the fact that it was unscripted helped him out a lot. And The Miz as well, especially one of the first few episodes when he went off on Daniel Bryan. Everybody loved that. The whole internet was talking about it. And unfortunately, now it's not going to be on every week. And I mentioned this on the podcast yesterday, but another thing, Renee Young, she didn't even know about it until somebody tweeted her about it, that the show was canceled. And also, Renee Young's other show, Unfiltered, which airs on the WWE Network, has been canceled as well. And what I have read today is that also, not only that, but Daniel Bryan was another one who also was not aware that Talking Smack was going to be canceled. And I don't understand, well, not only why they're canceling it to begin with, but I don't understand why they didn't tell Daniel Bryan, Renee Young. And sometimes when Bryan's off, you have Shane McMahon hosting. But when Daniel Bryan's on there is when it's at its best. And if there was also a few times where JBL filled in as the guest co-host, with Renee Young. But unfortunately, Talking Smack is no longer going to be on every week, Tuesday nights on the WWE Network. But at least we'll still be able to watch it after the pay-per-views. The SmackDown ones anyway. And Raw Talk, that's a pretty good show, but I don't think it's quite as good as Talking Smack is. I enjoy Talking Smack a lot more. And I was talking about the other day, I think it was on a live stream, where my Tuesday night routine is SmackDown Live, 205 Live, and then Talking Smack. So now down to 2 shows on Tuesday night, I guess. Just got SmackDown and then just 205 Live. That's it. And as of right now, I'm not sure what they're going to replace Talking Smack with, if it's going to be with the new show, or if they're just going to show reruns of something else. Table for Three, Ride Along, one of those shows. Who knows? We'll just have to stay tuned and see. Speaking of the WWE Network, though, I think this Monday night after Raw, there's going to be a new episode of Table for Three. Not sure who will be on that episode, but I think I saw there's going to be a new episode of Table for Three, though. And moving on now, tomorrow night, XICW 225, at the Imperial House in Clinton Township. And there's a Midwest title match. The number 1 contender, Jamie Cox, takes on the champion GQ Gavin Quinn. That should be a great match right there. And Johnny Devine, light heavyweight champion. Travis Titan, another good match right there. The XICW Tag Team Championships are on the line as the Monroes, DBA, and MM3 take on Hakeem Zane and Jake Something. Also, Joe Coleman returns to XICW, and he's challenging Dre Jacobs in 2 grudge matches, Super Future, with Mark Joka going up against Sweet Party, and El Ridiculoso taking on Palmer Cruz, and Willie Watts taking on Xavier Walker. That's tomorrow night, Clinton Township at the Imperial House, XICW 225. Sounds like a solid show. And also, today, the episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood that aired. And airs here in Michigan on WADL Saturday afternoons at 4 p.m. If you're here in the Michigan area, you want to check out Championship Wrestling from Hollywood Saturday nights, or Saturday afternoons, and 4 p.m. WADL. Today's episode featured the Red Carpet Rumble match, which is pretty much the Royal Rumble. It was a pretty good match this year. And the winner of the match was Bateman, who entered at the number 1 spot, last eliminating Oliver Grimsley. They've been feuding for a little bit. And actually, I think it's been a pretty good feud between those two. It is Bateman winning the Red Carpet Rumble in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And once again, if you've never seen an episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood before, I recommend that you check it out. Good wrestling, good show. And it was announced just a little bit ago from What Culture Pro Wrestling that Will Ospreay will take on Rey Mysterio Jr. August 23rd on their World Cup 2017 show. Now that should be a great match right there. I'm not sure. I know some of their shows are streamed on the Fight app. I'm not sure if that one will be or not. But if that one is on the Fight app, that will definitely be one that you're going to want to check out right there. Will Ospreay, one of the hottest stars in wrestling right now, taking on the legendary Rey Mysterio. That match will be a treat to see. And also on that show, New Japan star, junior heavyweight champion, Best of the Super Juniors winner from this year. He will, and Ring of Honor television champion Kushida will be taking on Kenny Williams. USA qualifier number 2 will be taking on Zack Sabre Jr. Takahashi will be taking on Lucky Kid. Joe Coffey versus Michael Elgin. And the ROTW qualifier number 2 will be taking on USA qualifier number 1. Bad Bones versus Penta Zero M. Pentagon Jr. from Lucha Underground. And Will Ospreay versus Rey Mysterio, as I already mentioned, which should be a fantastic match. I'm sure everybody watching right now has seen Rey Mysterio in action, and hopefully you've also seen Will Ospreay from New Japan, Ring of Honor, the British promotions, and also Speedball Mike Bailey will be taking on ROTW qualifier number 1. So that will be a really good show to see if you can. Like I said, I'm not sure if it will be on the Fight app or not. I know some of them are available to order on the Fight app. And if that one is, that would definitely be a good one to watch. Order. Usually I think they're 10, or if it's a big show, sometimes $15. Not bad at all. And also, like I mentioned, 360 Wrestling Fanatic episode 178 from yesterday, and which I talked about WWE Talking Smack being canceled, unfortunately. Also recapped Thursday night's episode of Impact Wrestling. And so if you missed that, you can find the links on the Facebook page for 360 Wrestling Fanatic, and also on Twitter at 360 Wrestling Pod. And stay tuned to the other podcast, Clash Wrestling 360. You can find that as on podcast, or excuse me, on Facebook as well. But you're going to want to stay tuned to Clash Wrestling 360, because at August 26th, huge event, Clash 150, will take place at the Taylortown Trade Center. And that is definitely going to be an event you do not want to miss. Of course, the other Lance Brock from Clash Wrestling 360 will also be there, as he always is, with his beard brother, Caveman Elk. I'm sure there will be pre-show interviews, and you never know what else is going to happen when Clash Wrestling is live. So that is Clash 150 coming up August 26th at the Taylortown Trade Center in Taylor, Michigan. And also, a few days or so ago, I did a podcast recapping the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. And once again, if you missed that, and that is also, you can find links available on the 360 Wrestling Podcast Facebook page and the Facebook group, Twitter at 360 Wrestling Pod. And another thing that's been in the news lately is the Mae Young Classic. Unfortunately, Leah Vaughn is not in the tournament like I was hoping, but there are a lot of talented women in that tournament. I'm looking forward to seeing it on the network. Now, I know they've at least taped one night at Full Sail. Jim Ross and Lita on commentary. I do not read spoilers like I've talked about before. So we'll not be talking about any spoilers right here on the live stream or any of the podcasts. But part of the Mae Young Classic has been taped. And I think it is going to be a really good tournament. But will it be as good as the Cruiserweight Classic was last year? I don't know. It was great. And one of the things that made the Cruiserweight Classic as great as it was, in my opinion, was the commentary from Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan. Of course, now Mae Young, or excuse me, can't talk tonight, but Mauro Ranallo back with the company on NXT, along with Percy Watson and Nigel McGuinness on commentary. I'm really not a big fan of Percy Watson on commentary, but Nigel McGuinness, though, I am a big fan of on commentary. I think he's great. I would say him and Corey Graves right now are definitely two of my favorite commentators in all of pro wrestling. And speaking of commentators, I know I already talked about Slammiversary from GFW Impact. I recapped that, but the commentary on there was pretty good, actually. Don West and Robert Flores. Don West returning to Impact Wrestling after being gone from the company since, I believe it was 2010. And now he returned for one night only. And Robert Flores, I don't believe he ever has did commentary on a wrestling show, and he wasn't bad at all. So had some good commentary on Slammiversary, and now on GFW Impact, back to Josh Matthews and Jeremy Borash and the Pope. And I've heard this talked about on the Law a little bit, how Josh Matthews, how he would actually make a good manager, actually, a good heel manager. Maybe could put him with Lashley, or could have him form a stable of some kind of heels. Maybe have him have a heavyweight guy in there, an X Division guy, a tag team guy, somebody who will go after the Impact Grand Championship. But I agree with that, actually, that Josh Matthews could be a good heel manager if they would let him. And also, obviously, has had training from being on the first Tough Enough, so he can take bumps. He can go in there and get beat up by a guy, and so and just leave JB on commentary as the main commentator and the Pope. I think that'd be good. I know a lot of people give the Pope a hard time about his commentary. They don't really care for it. But to be honest, though, just my opinion, I like the Pope on commentary. I don't know if a lot of people do or not, but I do, though. And I actually enjoy his commentary, to be honest. And so, not too much to talk about, I don't think. There hasn't really been any other new news about the whole situation with going on there. Alberto El Patron at Page. Haven't really heard anything else about that. And so far, it's been pretty fun doing these live streams on YouTube. And of course, doing the regular podcast, 360 Wrestling Fanatic. But also, I want to plug a couple other podcasts. First one is the Raw Dogs podcast. Very good podcast to listen to, and you can find them on Twitter and Facebook. And another podcast I want to plug is the Three Wise Men podcast. Not a wrestling one, but still very good, with my good friend Tyler Elkins, where they talk about different movies, where they come up with different ideas for them, recasts, things like that. I think I'm getting that right. And it's a very good podcast. The Three Wise Men, also on Twitter at the Three Wise Men. Check them out. Give them a follow. Also follow the Raw Dogs podcast. And like I mentioned the other day, you can now support 360 Wrestling Podcast, which would be very appreciated. Patreon.com/360 Wrestling Podcast. I posted the link a couple days ago on the Facebook and the Twitter for 360 Wrestling Podcast. So if you can, just help out and support 360 Wrestling Podcast on Patreon. I will do extra blogs, extra podcasts, and if I can think of anything else, I'll do that on there too, just for the patrons, exclusively on the 360 Wrestling Podcast Patreon. And Facebook, you can like 360 Wrestling Podcast, and Twitter at 360 Wrestling Pod. Also, Clash Wrestling 360 on Facebook, Instagram 360 Wrestling Podcast. Not sure if I mentioned that or not. I don't know. I don't have a good memory. Also, you're watching this on YouTube right now, so you know about the 360 Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel. And stay tuned to the social media for more episodes of the podcast 360 Wrestling Fanatic and Clash 360. I mentioned it already earlier. Clash 150 coming up August 26th at the Taylortown Trade Center. Huge event that you do not want to miss. You don't want to miss any Clash Wrestling show, but this is definitely one you do not want to miss. And I think that is all for this live stream. Maybe I'll be back tomorrow. Haven't decided for sure yet, but I might just do another live stream tomorrow. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I'm not promising, but maybe tomorrow we'll have another live stream right here on YouTube. So just stay tuned. The best way to know is to subscribe to the channel. You can turn on the notifications, whatever you gotta do. Find out when we go live or when I upload a video, and feel free to comment right here on this stream and the other videos that are here on the channel. But that is it for this stream, 360 Wrestling Podcast Live. And stay tuned for more live streams, videos. Who knows when 360 Wrestling Podcast TV will come back. And 360 Wrestling Fanatic, Clash Wrestling 360, anything else. The best way is to follow on all the social media. The Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube here. Please, once again, subscribe, comment, and I didn't mention the email, 360wrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, once again, the email, 360wrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. Hope to get some email soon. But until then, that's all for this live stream. I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.